It's 11 p.m. and these are the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received today Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani, the personal representative of the Emir of the State of Qatar. The President of the Republic also received a delegation from the National Democratic Rally, praising the strong and sincere will of the efforts for strong and sovereign Algeria. Following the passing of the Algerian boxing icon Abdelkader Ould Bakhloufi, the President of the Republic extended his heartfelt condolences to the family of the remarkable champion with numerous national and continental titles. And the Algerian government condemns the recent remarks made by the French president regarding Algeria as interference in Algeria's internal affairs. And the Grand Mosque of Paris strongly condemns the baseless campaign being waged against it. Welcome back, everyone. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received today Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani, the personal representative of the Emir of the State of Qatar. The President of the Republic also received a delegation from the National Democratic Rally led by Mustafa Yahi. The audience took place in the presence of the Principal Private Secretary at the Presidency of the Republic, Ba'alam Ba'alam, and the advisor to the President in charge of the Director General of Communication, Canal Sidi Said. Following the audience, the Secretary General of the R&D praised the strong and sincere will of the President of the Republic, who is working for strong and sovereign Algeria, capable of confronting vain and hopeless attempts at foreign interference. The meeting also discussed developments on the national scene. Mustafa Yahi affirmed that the local elections will be held on the scheduled time frame. Let's have a listen.
تشرفت عائلة الأرندي باستقبالها من طرف السيد رئيس الجمهورية.
It was a nice opportunity to witness the strong and sincere will of the President of the Republic in his work for a strong Algeria whose sovereignty is indisputable, especially in the current conjuncture, marked by attempts to interfere in the affairs of the constitutional and judicial institutions. The President of the Republic is a strong man and a true leader who works tirelessly for the supreme interests of the country and the preservation of its sovereignty. It was also an opportunity to listen to the President of the Republic and exchange views with him on developments on the national and international scene. Among the most important subjects we tackled is the bill relating to the organization of parties and the bill relating to elections. At the same time, we welcomed the two projects for provincial and municipal codes, which we at the National Democratic Rally described as a revolution for the local authorities. The exchange and discussions were fruitful. As we mentioned earlier, the President of the Republic is a man who prefers dialogue, a dialogue which was in fact on the agenda and which will continue with discussions around files that will be sent to the parties who will then respond. The process will probably lead to a conference concerning the national issues, notably the law on local authorities, the law on parties, and the law on elections. There's also another important point where a party that wants strong, stable institutions, and we've sensed that there's a desire not to go for early elections, but for the local and national assemblies to reach the end of their term, and that's also the National Democratic Rally's wish.
والمجالس الوطنية لا تكون هناك انتخابات مسبقة سوف تذهب إلى نهاية العهدة، وهذا هو مطلب من مطالب الأرندي. وبارك الله فيكم.
Following the passing of the Algerian boxing icon Abdelkader Ould Makhloufi, the President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune extended his heartfelt condolences to the family of the late and the wider Algerian sports community. In his message, President of the Republic paid tribute to the late champion, stating, Allah Almighty has called upon the late boxer Ould Makhloufi Abdelkader, who made his mark in the history of Algerian sports as a remarkable champion with numerous national and continental titles. He excelled not only as an athlete in international competitions but also as a distinguished coach, leading the national boxing team with excellence. He continued, in this moment of sorrow as we bid farewell to a legend of the noble art, whose accomplishments left a lasting legacy, I offer my sincere condolences to his family and all Algerian sportsmen and women. I express my deepest sympathy and pray to Almighty Allah to grant his mercy upon the late and welcome him into his vast paradise. To Allah we belong, and to him we shall return, concluded the President of the Republic. The legend of the Algerian boxing Abdelkader Ould Makhloufi passed away today at the age of 80. He obtained numerous African and Arab titles along his journey. Let's take a look at his career with Najah Tayar.
Abdelkader Ould Makhloufi, born in 1944 in Boufarik during Algeria's colonial era, came into the world in humble circumstances as the son of a farm laborer. Despite the modest dreams imposed by his time, Abdelkader carried with him a profound conviction. He was destined to fight, not out of anger or ambition, but with purpose and resilience. At just 14, he discovered boxing, a sport that was merely a casual pastime for most, yet his unparalleled courage, discipline, and thirst for success transformed this young boy into a beacon of hope and a rising legend. Draped in a boxing robe with colors of the Algerian flag, Abdelkader entered the ring not just as a boxer but as a representative of his people's aspirations. Each punch carried the weight of the country's struggles, and each victory resonated far beyond the boxing world, uniting a nation and inspiring countless others. He wasn't only a champion, he was an ambassador of hope, embodying Algeria's resilience and fight for liberation. At 7:30 a.m. this Tuesday, January 7th, Abdelkader hung up his clothes forever, a disappearance that leaves an immense void in the hearts of the Algerians and boxing enthusiasts alike. I remember an anecdote. He had a ring rope with green, white and red, and on my first professional fight he asked me to take a red and black boxing rope in the colors of the Montreuil ring where we were, and I said no, my rope must be green, white and red, the colors of my country. Then Abdelkader gave me a green, white, red boxing rope with which he made his career, and I made my entire professional career with it. Later on, I was honored.
J'ai fait toute ma carrière professionnelle avec le peignoir de Abdelkader Ould Makhloufi. J'étais honoré.
Abdelkader, the boy from Boufarik who rose to greatness, became a symbol of courage, determination and national pride. Though he has departed, his legend lives on forever, etched in the collective memory of Algeria. Abdelkader Ould Makhloufi, a champion, a patriot and a legend.
And in his capacity as special envoy of the President of the Republic, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, arrived this evening to Brazzaville, the capital of the Republic of Congo, for an official visit. The visit reflects the tradition of regular communication between the leaders of the two countries, President Abdelmajid Tebboune and President Denis Sassou Nguesso. It also underscores their shared commitments to strengthening bilateral cooperation, in particular joint African action to ensure an effective response to the current challenges facing the continent. The Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, had talks with the Minister of State and Secretary General of the Presidency of the Republic of Cameroon, Ferdinand Ngongo. The meeting provided an opportunity for both parties to review the various aspects of cooperation and solidarity between Algeria and Cameroon. They also explored ways to elevate these relations to the highest levels in accordance with the directives of the President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune and his Cameroonian counterpart, President Paul Biya. The discussions emphasized the importance of injecting greater dynamism into the partnership between the two brotherly nations. Ahmed Attaf held a working session with his Cameroonian counterpart, Lejeune Belambela, to discuss practical steps for implementing the ways of cooperation agreed upon during the Cameroonian minister's visit to Algeria last December. The two officials emphasized the importance of continuing consultations on key African issues and strengthening coordination on matters discussed at the United Nations, as Algeria currently presides over the UNSC, while Cameroon holds the presidency of the UN General Assembly. The Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs responsible for African Affairs, Salma Bakhta Mansouri, arrived in the Gambian capital, Banjul, on Tuesday. During her visit, she delivered a letter from President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, to the Gambian President, Adama Barrow. In the meeting, Mansouri conveyed President of the Republic's fraternal greetings and reaffirmed Algeria's commitment to strengthening cooperation with Gambia. President Barrow expressed his satisfaction with the strong ties between the two countries and commended Algeria's leadership role in Africa, in particular through its presidency of the UNSC. He highlighted Algeria's efforts in addressing African issues, notably the preservation of peace, security, and the fight against terrorism. The Algerian government expressed its deep astonishment at recent remarks made by the French president regarding Algeria, stating that these statements offend first and foremost those who deemed it appropriate to make them in such careless matter. In a strongly worded statement, Algeria condemns the remarks, describing them as unacceptable and blatant interference in Algeria's internal affairs, and it must be rejected, denounced, and condemned. What is falsely and misleadingly presented as a matter of freedom of expression is in fact not consistent with the laws of a sovereign and independent state, emphasizing that it is an assault on the territorial integrity of the country, which is a crime punishable under Algerian law. The People's National Assembly condemned the French president's responsible remarks as interference in Algeria's affairs, stressing the country's rejection of foreign meddling and reaffirming its commitment to sovereignty and dignity. Many political parties also criticized the latter. Rania Al-Bahri.
The ANP bureau strongly condemned the careless remarks of the French president, remarks that are serious interference in Algeria's internal affairs and an attack on its sovereignty and dignity concerning a case currently being reviewed according to Algerian law. For the National Liberation Front, the French president's remarks are an immoral mistake, careless statements, and an interference in Algeria's internal matters. For its part, the RND saw these remarks as a failed attempt to influence Algeria's independent judicial system. The MSP believes that the French president's comments and those of his foreign minister were an unacceptable diplomatic move in the relations between sovereign countries. For its part, Al Mustaqbal Front stated that these provocative remarks are the result of the colonial past and the extreme far right. For the FFS, the shameful and unacceptable actions of the French president reflect a deep disrespect and France's ongoing inability to face its colonial history. The Voice of the People pointed out that the French president's irresponsible remarks break diplomatic rules and norms.
The French president's remarks sparked many reactions. Chad condemned France's disrespectful attitude towards Africa, especially regarding the French military presence in the Sahel. Senegal also condemned these remarks. The two countries emphasized the crucial role Africa has played in France's liberation during the World War II, a role that France has never truly acknowledged. Rania Al-Bahri once again.
The French president's remarks have provoked anger, especially when he criticized some African governments for not thanking France for its fight against terrorism. He went even further by saying that these countries wouldn't be sovereign today without France's help. These comments have sparked a huge outcry.
pense que les pays africains sont un peu à cran, les dirigeants surtout.
I think African countries are used to leaders who act as links between the French government and their people. The French government has often treated these leaders as more important than the people they represent. Macron might say he's not responsible for colonization because he wasn't born yet, but the new way France is acting seems a lot like the old one, where France felt superior and acted like, I know what's best, why don't you understand?
Many African countries see recent French statements and policies as condescending or insulting. According to many observers, the relationship between France and some African countries is at a breaking point. France is now seen as an arrogant former colonial power, disconnected from African hopes, with its military presence often driven by its own interests.
Parler des gratitudes, je pense que la France en sait un rayon sur les gratitudes parce que les fameux tirailleurs.
When talking about gratitude, France owes a lot to Africa. The Senegalese riflemen and African resources helped France in the past, but they were not properly rewarded. France's involvement in the Sahel today is because of problems France created, like the chaos in Libya, which led to the security problems we have in the Sahel today. The situation, which many find horrible, was caused by France.
Déplorable. Cette situation détestable a été créée par la France.
Senegal called the claim that the withdrawal of French troops was based on an agreement between Paris and Dakar incorrect. Senegal's Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko emphasized that Senegal made its own decision. The Chadian Minister of Foreign Affairs Abderrahman Kouloumala criticized the disrespect towards Africans, saying that the French leaders must learn to respect African people and their sovereignty. This is something the French president doesn't seem to understand lately, as he keeps making provocations and mistakes. The loss of French influence in Africa shows a change in geopolitical situation, highlighting the importance African countries place on sovereignty and mutual respect.
And the Grand Mosque of Paris strongly condemned the baseless campaign being waged against it and its rector Shamsuddin Hafiz by a French television channel. Over the weekend, serious accusations were made, claiming that the mosque was attempting to destabilize France. Similar remarks had previously been made on the same channel by the former French ambassador to Algeria, known for his strong hostility towards Algeria. The Grand Mosque of Paris firmly rejects these unfounded allegations, which it deems as discriminatory against Muslims in France, aimed at denying them their basic right to exist and spreading the dangerous ideology of the far right in the country. The mosque has reserved the right to pursue legal action against those making such accusations. 25 citizens, including 7 children, were martyred today's evening in a Zionist airstrike on Khan Yunis and Jabalia in the Gaza Strip, as a Zionist drone targeted a tent sheltering displaced people west of Khan Yunis, south of the Strip, resulting in the martyrdom of 5 children. The occupation forces have also targeted a vehicle in El Manara neighborhood, killing 2 citizens, and 3 others were also killed, including 2 children, after targeting a house. In the Moroccan file, Spanish newspaper published an article denouncing the practices of the Makhzen flooding the Spanish territories with migrants while applying political pressure so that Madrid will hand over Sahrawi refugees on hunger strike.
The Spanish newspaper El País raises alarm over the controversial actions of the Makhzen, which has been blamed of turning a blind eye to the sharp rise in migrant departures to the Canary Islands. The newspaper reports that Morocco has gone to great lengths to flood Spanish enclaves, including pressuring Spain to accept the Sahrawi refugees on hunger strike at the Bahamas airport, demanding political asylum. The Makhzen regime is frequently blamed of using migrants as a tool to apply political pressure on Spain. El País provides shocking and revealing details of the Makhzen's blatant disregard for the basic principles of neighborly relations. This situation has spiraled into an unprecedented humanitarian crisis in the region. According to the same report, migrant arrivals to the Canary Islands have tripled in 2024, Of the 10,903 migrants who reached the islands from Morocco, more than 6,165 arrived between September and December, averaging 50 people a day, while 4,738 arrived between January and August, fewer than 20 per day. Additionally, 212 boats departed from the Moroccan coast to the Canary Islands in 2024, an average of one every 3 days. From September onward, this frequently increased to 30 departures per month, suggesting a deliberate easing of controls by the Mahsen.
That was it for today's news. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.